Hey there. Thank you so much for joining us on Weather Out West today. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz. Here's what we're tracking for you today. Rain and snow, a wintry mix, are coming to parts of the Northwest. We'll tell you where and show you the weather impact and first alerts that have been issued. More than half the country is waking up to bitter cold. The record lows being hit as an Arctic blast is gripping the United States. And ski season delays in some areas, while others are finally seeing fresh powder. We'll check in on what's holding up the start and where conditions are improving. A fairy tale winter wonderland is coming to life one icicle at a time. We'll take you behind the scenes on how ice castles are built. And once again, we want to thank you for joining us on Weather Out West on this Thursday. If you haven't joined us before, this is an hour-long show where we tell you what's happening weather-wise across the western United States, and we have some fun tidbits in the mix as well. But today we begin today because more than half of the U.S. population is waking up to below freezing temperatures starting today and then for the week ahead. A strong Arctic outbreak is bringing the coldest air of the season. We're talking 20 to 30 degrees below average in some locations Thursday and Friday. Long-standing December record lows and even some record cold high temperatures could fall from the plains to the East Coast. And meteorologists are already tracking the chance of an even colder snap later in the month. It's a weather impact alert day in eastern Washington. Spokane's Thomas Patrick is tracking a wintry mix and rain in his forecast today.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. We started the day out with a bit of snowfall coming down pretty moderately before 9 a.m. And that was enough to create a lot of snow-covered and icy streets in the region. That coupled with a bit of some freezing mist, freezing drizzle in the region. And when it comes to ice, we don't want to mess around with road conditions. Now, already we're starting to transition into the second phase of this weather system, which is going to be more rain and just a little bit warmer. So the road conditions are going to improve. The weather system as a whole, the iciness will alleviate as we go from a chance of freezing rain in central Washington and snow in eastern Washington, North Idaho, to more just outright rain and very warm conditions, especially by next week. So here's still the overall forecast for snow and iciness in the region, and it's not a lot in its own regard. 0 to 1 inches of snow. Looks like we'll end up with about 0.3, 0.4 in total here. But any kind of ice can make this very, very icy and snowy, especially for the morning commute. But now we're starting to enter the second phase where our weather impacts will start to lessen into the afternoon. I think we definitely saw quite a bit of some snowy roads across the region. The mountains will still retain a bit more heavy snowfall into this afternoon and towards the weekend. But now rain is going to take over. This is a regional wide look. Basically, it was all snow for eastern Washington during the morning, but it even started as rain for Moses Lake, Grant County. That rain and that rain snow line is going to start advancing through Spokane and then through North Idaho later on today. I honestly think it's going to be more of a rain event from 3 to 6 p.m. Still a chance for some snow, especially at some slightly higher elevations, but this is more rain than snow for the afternoon. Same for Friday. Chance of a snow or wintry mix in the morning, but we're already warm enough to lean into way more of a rain event than anything else. Here's how our modeling handles it. It did pick up on the snowfall in the morning, and it's going to advance that rain from west to east as temperatures themselves warm degree by degree. By 2 p.m., there's not much here, but a little bit of pink showing up on the map to represent a rain-snow mix. I think we'll just start to tilt on the rain side of the scale during the afternoon. Once that overtakes the region, any morning snow should melt pretty easily. Might still be slushy for a few hours, but it's going to be more wet than anything else. We'll catch a break from the action mid-overnight. Friday morning, we start with more rain, but notice how much more green there is on the map as opposed to blue. In fact, the snow should stay above 4,000 feet of elevation starting Friday, meaning that only some mountain passes will even get snowfall. Everyone else is into the rain side of the scale. So we go from 35 degrees for the high temperature today, which is actually pretty close to average. And then things will just warm up day after day to the point where really most of the West Coast is going to be well warmer than average. Gets to the point where we're 40s this weekend and even 50 degrees next Tuesday. That's close to record high temperatures for Spokane. So that is very warm.
Very warm indeed. Our weather team in Boise, Idaho issued a first alert for late Thursday and all day Friday due to incoming rain and mountain snow. Hector Mendoza has everything you need to know.
Well, we're expecting to see some showers making its way through here through this afternoon and through this evening. Most of that looks to stick around towards the west central mountains and even in portions of the Treasure Valley. And as we get towards Friday, that's when we're anticipating seeing maybe moderate to even heavy snowfall and even rainfall in portions of the valley. So the biggest thing to pay attention to, at least for today, is going to be those showers that come in. A possibility with some of the cold temperatures to see some light snow showers down here in valley locations, but there will be little to almost absolutely no accumulation, and none of that looks to stick around through tomorrow, as we're going to see a lot more of that rain that comes along. And as we look at the mountains, we are going to see that those snow levels will continue to rise here from this afternoon and through tomorrow, and it looks like it settles around 5,000 to 7,000 feet. Anything above 6,000 feet is where we're going to see a lot more of that snow start to stack up, so some moderate accumulation. The biggest thing there is going to be those winter driving conditions that are really going to get dicey as we get towards tomorrow and into this weekend. Now, it's going to be this band of precipitation here, so it's going to be that sort of plume of moisture that's going to bring in a lot of that rain and snow here through portions of southwest Idaho. And these are some of the totals that we're expecting here through our Friday, as again, we see a very sort of slight chance there of seeing some light snow make its way through Caldwell, Nampa, Boise, and even out and through Ontario. Most likely up into the mountains, seeing very little accumulation there, 1 to 3 inches of snow here through the end of the day today. Then as we get closer in through Sunday and continue on to early next week, that's when we're going to start to see a little bit more start to stack up, as a lot of that really sticks around up in portions of the mountains before we start to see a little bit more of these totals start to diminish a little bit more. But as we look at some of the rain totals as we get towards the end of our Thursday and in through Friday, that's when we're anticipating a lot more of that to come in. About a half an inch and possibly even more could make its way down as we head towards Saturday through the Treasure Valley, and then we'll see a little bit less of those totals making its way through the Magic Valley as we head towards Saturday. Now, we look at this future cast, and this is going to continue here through the rest of this afternoon, as we're going to see there a chance there for some of those snow showers makes its way on out quickly. We get a bit of a break here as we get in through early Friday before the next round of showers comes in, as we'll see rain. A lot of those snow levels will continue to rise, and then you can see a chance for some of those heavier precipitation totals really starting to come along as we get towards the afternoon, closer to 5 and 6. And that's around time where we're going to see a lot of folks heading out to the BSU game against UNLV for that championship game here for this West Conference. And then we're going to continue to see that there all the way through the evening, and then start to become a lot lighter as we're going to see scattered showers in portions of the mountains, possibly seeing some drier conditions there on Saturday as we look at both the Treasure and Magic Valleys. But as we look at our 7-day forecast here in Boise, that's the reason why, with the system that's coming in and with a lot of that moisture that's going to make its way through southwest Idaho, we do have first alert weather conditions, especially this evening here for the Treasure Valley and for the mountains, and then across southwest Idaho there for Friday, with temperatures warming up. We'll get back into those upper 40s, and then temperatures will continue that way here towards the end of the weekend. And then we'll see another jump in temperatures. Will be about 10 degrees above normal as we look on into Monday, back into those low 50s. And then we'll continue to rise up from there as we'll see the warmest temperatures possible as we get towards Wednesday. And then we'll also see that very unsettled pattern here continue towards Wednesday.
Weather permitting, of course, you may want to go outside and look at the moon tonight. We'll tell you why coming up. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Weather permitting, we'll get a look at the final supermoon of the year tonight. This is when the moon is at its nearest point to Earth, making it appear larger and fuller. December's full supermoon is also called the cold moon because it is closest to the winter solstice. It also ushers in the final round of king tides for the year. In January, we'll have more king tides. It looks and feels like December in Seattle with more rain on the way, so you may not see the full supermoon as well tonight. Rich Marriott tells us what to expect and if the mountains will get any snow.
Well, welcome to the Western Washington Rain Festival. I'm meteorologist, King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and it has been a wet morning around Western Washington. We've had pretty much steady rain all the way from the Cascades out to the Pacific through the whole morning commute, actually through most of the night as well. And this is kind of a prelude to what's going to be a pretty wet 7 days headed our way, with a series of storm systems marching through the northwest, keeping us wet pretty much off and on. And those off periods of time are going to be relatively short compared to the on times. You can see right now, though, start to see break out a little bit. We are going to see the frontal system move through here as we head towards midday to early afternoon. That is going to turn the steady rain into just off and on showers, so it won't be quite as wet as we head towards the afternoon commute up and down Puget Sound. And all the tower cameras this morning have gotten a great washing. They've all had a lot of raindrops on the camera lens. Occasionally, it looks like we're looking from underwater. The one there at Queen Anne definitely has looked that way several times this morning. That rain continues to pelt down, and not looking too different down there in Tacoma, looking out towards the Tacoma Dome, where you see nothing going on wind-wise there on the flag on the dome. Checking out at Westport along the coast, they're kind of where we start to see it let up a little bit, but still looking pretty rainy right now at this hour. Overall, you can see if we look at that 7-day forecast, a lot of raindrops involved in the making of this graphic, as we've got pretty much, once again, those storms kind of marching through here one after the other all the way through at least the middle part of next week. And you'll also notice we also warm up. We get above normal for our high temperatures into the low to mid 50s, and it looks like the snow levels are going to be bouncing between roughly about 4,000 and 6,000 feet all the way into next week. We'll look at that in more detail in just a second. Right now, we'll take a look at the satellite picture, which doesn't look much different from yesterday. Again, we have that big arc of clouds over there going over the top of a big area of high pressure out here. And fortunately, as it moves over the top of that ridge, it does rain out a bit, so they're not really, really wet systems that are moving through. They rain for a while, but the quantities are not all that great. As we head towards the weekend and next week, we are going to see that high drop to the south and east and kind of park down by California. That's going to open us up for those systems to move in more directly from the west and southwest, which is going to be giving us some warmer and wetter systems and drive those snow levels frequently up to about 6,000 to maybe even 7,000 feet at times during the week next week. But it does look like beyond that we may start to see some of those snow levels begin to drop as we head towards the end of next week and into the following weekend. But we've got to get through the next 7 days first. And taking a look at the computer model, you can see it shows this today's system. We see a little bit of a break as we head towards the overnight hours, and then right back in here for another wet day tomorrow, it looks like. And as we head into Saturday, you might see a brief break, but then the rain moves right back in again as we head towards late Saturday and on into Sunday. And we just continue to watch those march on through here all the way through the week next week, with only a little bit of a break in between. But that is enough of a break to allow some of the water to drain off. So we are looking for some minor river flooding possible as we head towards especially the middle part of next week. But at least at this point, we're not looking for anything really major. So, and that's largely because we have these breaks between the systems. Checking those snow levels. So today we're running around between 3,000 and 4,000 feet. We've seen a rain snow mix at Snoqualmie. It's snowing at Stevens. They picked up a couple of inches so far. And actually Stevens Pass and Mount Baker ski areas may get anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of snow down to the bases, which is going to be helpful for trying to get them open. But we do see that snow level pop right back up to 6,000 feet as we head into Friday, and then back to 4,000 on Saturday. And you can see it just kind of moves up and down. So they will occasionally be getting snow at the base of almost all the areas, with the exception of the Snoqualmie areas on into next week. It does kind of pop up in the middle part of the week, but as I said, beyond that, the main computer models are indicating some cooler air starting to work its way in here, so we might see the snow levels drop back down low enough to even see some snow at the Snoqualmie Pass areas. Shorter term, though, take a look at our live Snoqualmie camera. You can see some wet snow coming down there, and it's been like that through most of the morning. Nothing is stuck on the highway, and there's, at least at this hour, mid morning. We've got no restrictions on any of the passes with the exceptions of Stevens Pass, which has traction tires advised because of some snow and slush on the road. You can see that there from their current picture. And overall, the forecast you can see for Snoqualmie Pass, we see that wet snow this morning, then the snow levels kind of drift up high enough that it turns to rain as we head into the afternoon. Checking out to Stevens Pass, still stay snow through the day today, and so they could pick up, as I said, anywhere from maybe 5 to 10 inches of snow between now and tomorrow morning, which is definitely helpful. All contributions are gratefully accepted. Temperatures today around Puget Sound running mostly in the mid to some upper 40s, and you see that warmer air starts to drift in here with those temperatures jumping up into the low to mid 50s as we head towards tomorrow. So overall, going over that 7-day forecast again, so the rain's going to turn off and on showers this afternoon and might see a sunbreak mid to upper 40s. Tomorrow, basically rain at times. That steady rain will be with us for a big chunk of the day, low to mid 50s. Saturday, we might see a little bit less in terms of rain and maybe a few more breaks in there, and temperatures in the low to mid 50s again. Rainy day on Sunday. Rain moves right back in again for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it stays mild with those temperatures running mostly in the low to mid 50s for highs.
And down in Oregon, a rainy weekend is ahead, but heavier rain may move in next week. Portland's Chris McGinnis is here with today's forecast.
Hello, I'm meteorologist Chris McGinnis. We are wet in the Rose City for sure. This is a look from our Wells Fargo sky camera. The camera itself sits about 550 feet up off the ground, and it is solidly in the low cloud deck. So that's really the story today, is rain, and actually more rainy than not throughout our 7-day forecast. Today, periods of light rain. Tomorrow, maybe a brief period of some heavier rain and some gustier wind. We'll look at that with Futurecast in a second. And the general theme here over the next 4 days is to pick up anywhere from 1 to maybe 2 inches of rain in the Willamette Valley and the I-5 corridor between now and Sunday. That's not earth-shattering, of course. December is the wettest month of the year on average in Portland. So we expect this. One thing I am watching is a chance for more significant rain at the tail end of our 7-day forecast. I'll show you that in a second. And high snow levels, those continue to be a story as well. More on that in a minute. All right, for right now, we've got rain out there, and the progress that this rain has made over the last 3 hours, you can see it's just been drifting in slowly and continuously from the north. When I say light, we've only measured about 0.03 of an inch of rain at the airport in the last 3 hours so far. So what we're getting today is not much, but between today, tomorrow, and Sunday's system, we put it all together, we get a rainfall map that looks something like this. So the rain will be on the uptick, especially tomorrow. Today's rain generally light. This is Futurecast this afternoon, indicating we may even get a little rain shadowing here over the Coast Range. And what that means basically is that we'll maybe start to dry out the Willamette Valley a little bit. By no means are we going to expect to see any sun, but we may at least shut off the waterworks for a few hours. One thing I do want to focus in on is that if our modeling is right with the timing, a heavier batch, this would be some substantial rain coming in, possibly during Friday's morning commute. So this will be much more rain than what we're getting this morning. That system passes, and then Saturday looks like kind of a drippy day. I mean, we'll have on and off late rain showers, but if you're looking for a day where it's not raining all day, I think Saturday is going to be the day. Sunday, the next slug of moisture comes in and makes us pretty wet. Okay, up in the mountain, I wanted to talk about this as well. Light snow showers at Timberline this morning, but unfortunately, those snow levels and the temperatures are going to climb as we go through the next day or so. In fact, I don't see snow levels getting below 7,000 feet at all in my 7-day forecast, and that continues to be a story with the lack of snow at the Cascade Ski Resort bases. Possibly by the end of next week, we see a slight change in the weather pattern that would get us some snow, but for now, that's just not in the cards. All right, 42 degrees last check at PDX. It's raining temperature-wise. We're holding steady in the mid-40s today, I think. If anything, the temperatures may come up as we go into the overnight hours, and so our high for the day today might come at midnight. So we'll be off to a warmer start tomorrow and eventually getting into the 50s. You can see, at least for the next several hours, temperatures kind of hang in the mid-40s here in Portland. Okay, I did mention a more significant weather system next week. I want to talk about this real quick because this, at least early on, has indications that this could be a substantial rainmaker, more so than the rain that we're getting here over the next 3 or 4 days as we go into late Monday night, Tuesday, and Wednesday across the Pacific Northwest. I'm sure a lot of folks are beginning to look at their apps and it's seeing, rain in the 7 days. So that's the thing that we're watching for next week. Again, that comes in on late Monday night, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The short term is showery and cool.
The slopes are sitting quiet in the Northwest while the Rockies are starting to roar to life. Why some ski resorts are stalled and others are finally seeing fresh snow. Several ski areas across Western Washington are postponing opening day, including Stevens Pass. Seattle's Bridget Chavez was here she is with a look at what's holding up the season so far.
I'm usually up here in full ski gear by now, but just like I'm not ready to click into my skis yet, the mountain isn't ready either. And you can see that right here on the conditions map. All of those red dots represent closed terrain. So right now, it's a whole lot of waiting and a whole lot of riders hiking up the mountain to get in some preseason turns.
Just wish we could be on the lift right now.
That's the mood up here at Stevens Pass. Skiers and snowboarders are ready.
It needs a little bit more to get on top of those bushes.
But the mountain is playing catch up.
Oh, a little on pins and needles. We're totally ready from an operational standpoint to go, and our staff's eager, our skiers are eager, and so yeah, we're excited, and it's just not quite yet.
Right now, Stevens Pass has about a foot of snow on the ground, not enough to safely open runs or spin lifts.
We need another couple feet to open. It all starts with that first foot, but we need another couple to get going.
Riders who couldn't wait say coverage is thin, with rocks and brush still showing through in several areas.
That side seemed to be more snowy. We still hit a couple rocks. There was definitely a lot of bushes sticking up.
Stevens has 2 snowmaking machines in the base area, but it's not enough for the whole mountain.
Our fan guns do help, but it's not enough for us to get open.
They were aiming to open later this week, but Mother Nature isn't cooperating yet as they'd hoped.
We knew this Friday wasn't going to happen, so we wanted to let people know. That said, there are systems that are starting up this weekend and into next week, so we're paying very close attention.
Even though opening day is delayed, there's new energy on the mountain. Meet Jazz, an 11-week-old Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever and the newest member of the Avalanche dog team.
Right now we're just focusing on basic obedience with Jazz and socialization and getting used to all the sights and sounds of the ski area.
Her job for now:
she's curious and excited, and she also naps really hard.
And just like everyone else up here, she's waiting on more snow too.
Good girl, Jazz.
At Stevens Pass, Bridget Chavez, King 5 News.
What's that?
I'm sure we could all agree on watching Jazz all day long. A different story is brewing in Colorado, and after a very slow start to the season, ski resorts are finally starting to get some decent powder. Denver Shali Maharaj, I apologize for that, checked in with a few of them for an early season update.
You know, we're all very excited to see the snow.
Last week, Loveland Ski Area picked up almost a foot of fresh powder.
So we opened on November 8th, and it was for us really intentional about choosing our opening date because we didn't want to rush the process.
Lauren Roberson says before they chose a date, they wanted to make sure they'd be able to stay open for the remainder of the season.
There was some challenges in the beginning with some warmer temps, but they came through. Our team was working really hard to make it happen.
More than 240 acres of their terrain can be covered by snow they make themselves.
For the local businesses and the economy, we are dependent on this snow and these conditions to deliver.
Beaver Creek is officially open for the season. A stretch of unseasonably mild weather last month forced a short delay, but the lifts are moving again.
And our lower elevations kind of plagued us a little bit with the issue of not being able to make snow overnight even.
They welcomed their first wave of skiers and snowboarders on Sunday. Last week's streak of bitter cold gave snowmaking crews what they needed to build out the slopes.
Just last year, we had 18 inches the night before opening day. So yeah, it can vary year to year.
Both resorts were able to make the most of Thanksgiving weekend. And now their sights are set on the next big leg of the holiday season.
Now that things are changing for the Front Range and people aren't thinking about biking and golfing anymore, people are shifting their mindset to come out and ski.
Be sure to stick with us. We'll have a check on the forecast from Denver and Phoenix after the break. The holiday season kicked off in New York City last night with the lighting of the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. The tree will be lit from 5 a.m. to midnight through mid-January and 24 hours on Christmas Eve. It's beautiful. And New York City wasn't the only one that had a lighting last night. In Seattle, the King 5 Tower flipped on the switch to join in on the holiday season. If you're in the Queen Anne area, you can't miss it. All lit up like a giant Christmas tree, and you see the Space Needle on the left side of your screen as well. How cool. And below freezing temperatures for portions of Arizona this morning. Not Phoenix, but close. Phoenix's Ginger Jeffries tells us all about it, and she dives into the details about a nice warm-up.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where we picked up an inch of snow in the higher elevations yesterday, a little bit of cloud cover here and there, no measurable rain for the metro. And now today, as that moisture has cooled us down, the clouds have cleared out, that frontal boundary is pushing away from us, and all that cold air trailing the front, that's going to keep our numbers down. Now you'll see a little bit of thin cloud cover, basically just some mid-level clouds approaching from the west. I think this is going to just, kind of pepper the sky here and there, looking mostly clear and cool. Now, because of all that cool air, we do have a weather alert this morning, a freeze warning for areas southeast of Tucson. So this is, the southeast corner of the state where numbers, they're going to get between about 28 to 32 degrees this morning. Across the board, numbers have come down. You see some of those mid-level clouds on these icons? Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Not really looking for it to cover the state, just kind of like pepper the sky here and there. Temperature wise, look at this. We've got a lot of 60s on the board from Parker into Tucson, overhead in Phoenix. Then look at that wind in Bullhead City, once again, just on the west side of the state, and pretty clear and cool conditions for the northern tier of the state, as the Grand Canyon should see highs at 41 today. I've got 52 at Sedona and right about 41 in Show Low. So temperature wise, we are on the cooler side, just a little bit below the normal range. But look at the trend that starts developing by Sunday into Monday. We are getting back into above normal status. In fact, that's the mid 70s. So the question now, is it record heat? Nope, not even close. We're a good 10 plus degrees below that. The records for us next week sit in the mid to even upper 80s. And while we are warming, I expect us to see the warmest day on Tuesday at about 76 degrees, which is still just incredible. So today, sunny, mild, daytime highs at 67 degrees. I mentioned that's 1 degree off of our average range, 68, where we'd like to be this time of the year. No complaints when we hit a high of 67 degrees. Tonight, it's going to be mostly clear. We're dropping down to, 45 degrees, which means many of our valley cities will see the upper 30s. But we're also watching for the strongest winds. And again, that's really going to focus on Bullhead City. But we'll get some movement to the west, and that's going to help usher those clouds, those mid-level clouds to the south of us. And I'm looking for the winds to really start to taper off after sundown. So between about 7:30 to 9:30 tonight, winds in Bullhead City should drop into the single digits. And then we're looking pretty calm tomorrow, which will really allow that cool air to settle in. So tomorrow, much of the same to continue. A little more cloud cover, a little less wind, but temperatures staying in the mid 60s overhead. I think we'll see some 70s dropping in for Yuma and also Lake Havasu, but Flagstaff looking for highs at about 46 degrees and overnights dropping into the teens. Pretty chilly tonight in the higher elevations, but just like our numbers, everybody will start this gradual warming trend that's going to take us above the normal range, but certainly not into record territory. So 72 hours in the 60s, and then starting on Sunday, high pressure builds in, temperatures begin responding, and numbers are going to elevate above the normal range. We've got mid 70s to even upper 70s by Tuesday, hanging out in that range even in the long range forecast.
People in Colorado saw snowy roads, and state troopers saw that as a teaching moment. They practiced driving in the snow yesterday at the State Patrol's training track in Golden. They worked on controlled stops and navigating tight curves. CSP says most crashes happen when drivers run out of space, whether it's because of another car, a sudden obstacle, or even wildlife.
Well, it's like a broken record, right? We see a lot of crashes, a lot of slide offs, and that mostly is not because of the weather, it's because of driver actions.
Troopers say if you remember nothing else from this brief report, it's to please slow down. That's great advice there, as always. And now that the snow is passed in Denver, the clock is ticking for homeowners to clear the sidewalks. After the snow stopped falling, businesses need to start clearing their walkways immediately. For residents, they need to have their sidewalks clear the next day. If not, people may receive a notice from an inspector, and if the sidewalk is still not clear, they could face a $150 fine. And staying in Colorado, after Wednesday's winter storm that brought snow and very cold temperatures to Colorado's mountains all the way to the Front Range, milder temperatures are on the horizon. However, the mountains may get some more snow this weekend. Kathy Sabin and Katie LaSalle have the details.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. And we have enjoyed our first taste of winter in fall. Winter, of course, doesn't begin until the solstice on the 21st, but this was a good winter type storm. It brought heavy snow to the foothills, decent amount of snow to Denver, and now it is tracking south and east, where it could create an ice storm scenario across Oklahoma and Texas. This system made its way from the northern Rockies into Colorado. Over the past 24 hours, Denver saw over 6 inches of snow. The foothills had 10. Some of our mountain ski resorts, 2 to 5, even 8 inches of snow. We desperately needed this moisture, and it was so fun to see the snow. We typically have our first snow in mid-October, and here it is early December. Well, now that weather maker is headed to the south, where it's going to create travel issues from Houston to Atlanta, and then we set our sights on the northwest and the arrival of the next storm. And the winds will be calm today. It'll be a cool and chilly day, but then the winds increase ahead of the next week's system to approach. So we're saying goodbye to the snow, clearing skies. We started really cold this morning in the lower teens, so there was ice and black ice, and there may be a little residual snow left over in the Steamboat and Aspen areas today, kind of on that northwest flow. So nice to see that moisture coming in. Denver stays dry, the foothills see the wind, and it's just chilly. So we start in the teens. We get a sunny afternoon. Temperatures don't get above 40 degrees today. We do make it into the 40s for Friday, for Saturday, for Sunday. We'll come close to 50 on Monday, and then I have 50s heading into the middle part of next week. So all of the snow that we've seen in the past 24 hours, the glorious snow, will probably be melting, but a lot of you were probably over the snow, ice, and shoveling, and this is just a beautiful forecast ahead.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. It is Thursday, December 4th, and fresh layer of snow over the metro area. On this morning, we've seen very cold temperatures in the teens, and we picked up some significant snow totals with Wednesday's storm system. Coming in at over 10 inches near Genesee, Arvada, more than 9, into Boulder, Evergreen, the foothills, around 6 to 9 inches in a lot of spots, and in downtown Denver at our studios, over 6 inches. Now, officially, the snow total coming in for Denver for yesterday's storm, recorded out at Denver International Airport, 4.3 inches. Did you know that is Denver's snowiest day in over a year? A pretty slow, and as Chris Bianchi put it, a pathetic start to our snow season here, but hey, we will take it. Some measurable snowfall for this last storm system, and unfortunately we're not really looking at more of it on the 7-day forecast, but I want to take you through our December statistics here in Denver. Typically it is our third snowiest month, March coming in at number 1. Average 8.5 inches here in town. Our record on this date, that was back in 1913, so none of us were alive back then, but 20 inches fell. More than that, it was a very solid snowstorm for the metro area at that time. Now, no snow on our 7-day forecast, but we are bracing for more good precipitation in the mountains. We could definitely use more snow, especially for our ski resorts. They can open up more terrain. It is, again, a very slow start to the ski season that we have seen with a relatively low snowpack here across Colorado. So we have waves of snow making their way into our northern mountains. First on Friday, more substantial snowfall, it looks like, through the day on Saturday into our northern, central, and then southern mountains. Could see a few sprinkles across the plains, but most of the moisture will be confined to the high country as we track this next storm, kind of intercepted by the mountain range there, and some good snow totals that we're looking at, upwards of a foot possible over Steamboat Springs, Rabbit Ears Pass. We'll be talking about the drive on I-70 through the course of the weekend. Winter driving conditions to be expected. Should stay dry here for the metro area, and in Denver Saturday, the 9 News Parade of Lights at 45 degrees with a gradual warm up above seasonal normal temperatures expected next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Staying in Denver, Commerce City opened its first ice rink yesterday, just in time for the city's annual holiday tree lighting and Merry Market. City crews were out before sunrise, clearing heavy snow after the metro area's first major storm of the season. The city says crews have been battling both extremes, too warm to freeze the ice one week and too much snow the next.
We've actually have had a plan in place that if we've gotten this level of inclement weather, how could we still be able to pull it off? And we've been able to hit that plan at every point through that checklist.
The Winter Wonderland ice rink will be open throughout the week, and visitors can bring their own skates or rent them on-site. The Merry Market will rotate local artists and vendors during the first 3 weekends of December. And coming up next, we'll have forecasts from San Diego and Sacramento. Welcome back on this Thursday to Weather Out West. Now it's time to head to Southern California, where they're looking at king tide, Santa Ana winds, and warm sunshine. San Diego's Vanessa Paz has the details.
Happy Thursday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. As we take a look at your weather headlines, we're looking at Santa Ana winds weakening. They peaked late last night. They actually woke a lot of people up. We got reports of those howling winds, but it looks like they will subside as we get into your Thursday. We are still looking at king tides pretty much blanketing our entire coastline with a threat for minor coastal flooding. The king tides peaking in the morning hours today all the way through Saturday morning, and then they'll start to subside, especially when we look ahead to the latter part of the weekend into early next week. We do have warming on the way. Taking a look at our inland valleys, by the time we get to next week, some neighborhoods could actually soar close to 80 degrees, which is unusually warm for this time of year. All right, as I mentioned, all eyes are on the king tides that have been blanketing our coastline. Not only are we dealing with king tides, but also pretty high surf. We are looking at a beach hazard statement to impact the beaches all the way through Friday morning, ending at 10 a.m. So here's what you can expect in terms of the highest tides. Will be around the 7-8 a.m. hours Thursday, Friday, lingering into Saturday, and then once we get to Sunday, they should push back a good amount. Taking a look at that ridge of high pressure that's sitting over the Sierras, that's going to usher in that easterly flow. Will continue to at least all the way through Friday morning. Winds will exceed anywhere between 50 to 55 miles per hour. Those are isolated gusts that will be targeting those areas, especially those wind-prone pockets along the canyons and mountain slopes. We're also looking at elevated fire danger, but thankfully the rain that we received in November has been beneficial, to say the least. It saturated much of our vegetation, which is good when it comes to fire danger. In terms of the wind gusts, they will continue to have a kick later on this afternoon, but notice what happens, subsiding down to the single digits once we get to tomorrow morning. And that's when that offshore flow offshore winds kind of back off a bit. Taking a look at today's highs, will be in the mid to low 70s along the coast and inland valleys, mid to upper 50s for the mountain areas, and we'll touch into the high 60s for our desert communities. Here's what's on tap for tomorrow's highs. Will be in the mid to upper 60s from Oceanside all the way down to the South Bay. Pretty comparable temperatures and conditions for interior parts of the county. We'll touch in the high 80s from Fallbrook all the way down to Escondido. 69 for tomorrow afternoon out in Ramona, and low 60s in Julian. I wanted to quickly give you a big picture on what's expected looking ahead to the next next 7 days or so. Heading into the weekend, a ridge of high pressure is going to be developing over Southern California. That's going to usher in very warm temperatures. I mean, we are talking about unusually warm temperatures in the 80s by the time we get to next Monday and Tuesday. It's short-lived, though, because looking ahead to the end of next week, this trough of low pressure is going to kind of be our superhero cooling us down. So when we talk about the warm-up we're expecting, it's only lasting a couple of days. And by the time we get to the end of next week, things should calm down and temperatures should start to drop. Taking a look at the coastal and inland areas, we'll be in the high 60s most of the weekend. Gorgeous conditions for all of those holiday events happening across the county. Low 70s on tap all the way through Saturday. For the inland valleys, the warmest days will be Sunday, Monday into Tuesday, and then things will start to cool down a little bit looking ahead to the end of next week. Here's a quick look at what you can expect across the mountains and desert areas. Low 50s, overnight lows still remaining quite brisk. We have 70s on tap for the next several days up until Tuesday for the deserts.
And in Northern California, a quiet but foggy forecast. Sacramento's Monica Woods has the details.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, and we're checking out the end of our work week forecast. A couple days to go here, and things to be aware of for the coast. We're still dealing with the king tides. For the valley, less wind and more fog making a return. For the foothills, mostly sunny. Cold nights ahead for the Sierra. Just be aware of that if you plan to head up for any recreation. Have a couple more ski resorts coming online here. And things are really starting to get going up there, especially with snowmaking efforts. Heading towards the coast, though, first and foremost, we're going to look at those king tides and the impacts. We've got the coastal flood advisory in effect through the day, at least the morning, and then along the beach. Also beach hazards due to the sneaker waves and strong rip currents. If you head over to the coast, just be aware of that. In fact, some low-lying areas, including parking lots, could see some minor flooding. All of this is because of our full moon in alignment with those high tides. We have the full moon coming in play for tonight. It's the last super moon of 2025. Should see clearing skies. It's called the cold moon and appropriately named because those temperatures will be quite chilly with the overnight lows dropping into the 30s and 40s throughout the valley. As far as the fog, we saw those strong northwest winds on Wednesday that helped to really dry out the atmosphere, bump up the temperatures, and with that, the inversion that we've been seeing over the past about week and a half or so with that fog just socked in throughout the valley started to lift a little bit. Now we'll still see the remnants of that into our Thursday. So a little bit of patchy fog making a return into our Friday forecast. But outside of that, it's not going to be the widespread dense fog that we had to deal with last week with all that travel weather throughout Northern and Central California. Looking ahead to our Friday afternoon, that fog starts to lift. We still see the appearance of some mix of sun and clouds through the forecast. The storm track still stays to the north of us, but we will have a slight chance of seeing some very far northern showers into our Friday evening along the northwest coast and along the northeast corner of California. In the meantime, pretty dry forecast for us here. Temperatures in the 40s for our Thursday in the Sierra. 50s throughout the foothills. You'll notice those overnight lows for the Sierra are dropping into the 20s. As we head throughout the central Sierra, temperatures in the 40s and 50s for the mountains. As we head into the valley, patchy low clouds and fog. Temperatures warming into the 50s. Not bad considering we've been stuck in the 40s with very little access to sunlight the past couple of days. 50s for the central San Joaquin Valley as we head inland along the central coast. We're at 68 for San Luis Obispo, Soledad at 65, Gilroy at 63, Santa Cruz 63 degrees. Great place to head this time of year. Beautiful conditions along the coast. 50s and 60s for the Bay Area heading inland. We're back into the 50s. We have to deal with a bit of that low cloudiness and fog struggling to clear for our Thursday forecast. 50s along the northwest coast again later in the week. A chance of showers north end of the valley. A mix of sun and clouds. Highs will be in the 50s. The capital region, highs are going to be in the 50s once again. Struggling a little bit more to clear out of that fog for Patterson, Turlock, and Manteca. Will have better access to sunshine coming northward throughout the capital region. Moving on to our 5-day forecast, we've got a mix of sun and clouds. A little cool for our Thursday in the mountains, upper 40s, low 50s, warmer for the upcoming weekend. No snow, though, right now in the outlook for the next 5 days. We're in the 50s and near 60 throughout the foothills, 50s and 60s as well for the coast. In our extended forecast, again, dry conditions, a mix of sun and clouds with areas of fog.
Coming up, one Colorado town is transforming into a frozen wonderland. We'll take you inside the icy build that draws crowds every year. The dropping temperatures aren't only uncomfortable, but the winter weather can also be dangerous and even deadly. Mandy Gaither has simple reminders on how to stay safe in cold conditions.
When the temperature falls, the danger rises. In 2023, more than 1,000 deaths in the U.S. were due to excessive cold or hypothermia. And in the months ahead, experts are urging everyone to stay safe.
Winter weather can be extremely dangerous in so many ways.
The American Red Cross says if you do go out in extremely cold weather, wear layers of loose clothing in a coat, hat, mittens, and water-resistant boots. Using a scarf to cover your face and mouth can also help. And inside, if you use a space heater or fireplace, keep anything that could catch fire at least 3 feet away from the heat. And to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, don't use an oven to warm your home and only use generators outdoors.
This past year, the Red Cross has responded to more than 48,000 home fires. And this time of year in particular, a lot of that is caused because people are just trying to stay warm.
You should also know signs of potentially deadly hypothermia, including shivering, exhaustion, confusion, fumbling hands, memory loss, slurred speech, and drowsiness. When it comes to frostbite, symptoms can include a white or grayish yellow skin area, skin that feels unusually firm or waxy, and numbness.
Make sure to get out of the cold immediately and to seek medical attention urgently.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Once you're all bundled up and warm, if you're looking for a fun winter activity, Cripple Creek in Colorado has you covered. Known for its casinos and mining history, the past few winters, an extraordinary scene draws even more people to town. Builders are working hard to bring the ice castles back this year. Peter Choi takes us behind the scenes to see how the project is taking shape.
I came across something shiny where I could hear shoes crunching on ice. I met assistant build manager Adam here.
See, up there, those are the freshly placed icicles.
This is his third year building the ice castle.
Here's some slush.
All right, here's what's happening here. We're putting ice cool right here. Just gotta put a little bit of ice. Woo, that's cold. And just like that, like this. Well, it takes weeks to complete the whole ice castle here. Well, it all depends on Mother Nature.
It is a long process. You know, like right now we're working 10 to 12 hour days to build this thing.
There are many small towns in southern Colorado, but why Cripple Creek?
Look around, it's beautiful. No, we really like it up here. It's cold. We're high up in elevation. We really like that elevation.
I asked business owners why they like having ice castles here.
It helps a lot of the local businesses in terms of obviously revenue through the winter, which is something that Cripple Creek hasn't had in the past.
There's a lot of work left to do, but slowly but surely, the ice castles are coming back.
It's kind of a beautiful experience where you start out, you create this completely from scratch, you know, you show up, it's an empty field, and then you create a castle.
Added to my bucket list. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Weather Out West today. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and as always, we thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.